think that many students that I talk to believe that the opposite of success is failure. But failure is a requirement for success, right? Any project that you work on is not just going to simply work the first time, right? You're always going to run into some obstacle, some roadblock that you have to work around. In the process of doing that, you're going to learn something from that experience. And so for me, I would say success is not some destination. I always think of it as a process. You know, I think about keeping my head down, moving forward one step at a time, and getting better and better at whatever I'm trying to do. So sure, I have goals, and there's some long-term objective, but really for me, it's about improving the process, just getting better at being a good learner, right? Getting better at being a more effective teacher, being a better father. And you're gonna make lots of mistakes along the way, but if you're reflective, if you're thoughtful, each one of those mistakes becomes something that you learn from and you can grow from. And so I guess, you know, it's interesting as we talk about successes and failures, both of them, I don't really characterize that way. I characterize them as experiences. And you can learn from any experience. And sometimes what we would call failures are the best teachers.
Okay. Okay.
Take it in.
Okay. I'm gonna. So sometimes when we sit here and talk about these things, I feel a little bit like we're coaches and we have a whiteboard and we put X's and O's. That's the way the plays should come out. Okay. But when you actually get on the football field, there's mud. There is all sorts of stuff. And who is it? Mike Tyson said, you know, everybody is got a plan until they get hit and punch them out. Life comes at you really fast. We'd like to be able to say, okay, well, you know, I failed, but hey, I'm one step closer to the next success. That's not how it feels when you first get that punch in the mouth. Okay. So the thing that strikes me as really interesting as a behavioral economist is, hey, what is it? What is it that makes us take it so personally when we screw up? Like, you know, think about this. Success or failure at a task, and success or failure or worth as a human being should be separable, correct? I can kind of fail at this, but that doesn't make me a less valuable human being, does it? But why is it that every time we get negative feedback on almost any little crappy little thing that happens during the day, I feel higher or lower in my self-worth column? Why is it that we have such a fragile sense of self-esteem, that our sense of worth go up and down more than the stock market, which is really going up and down? Now that I find interesting because that to me is tied to my worldview. I feel like the human creature, which I study, is this curious and sad creature because it reminds me of, you know, it's the narrative in Genesis 3. I don't know if you guys, you know, in the biblical narrative, right? Adam and Eve, they're in the garden, they mess up, they eat the fruit. And then the saddest verse in the Bible to me was, it says, and then their eyes were open and they saw that they were naked. To me, that's the saddest verse because you don't unsee what you see. And then, you know, the Bible says, oh, God is wandering in the cool of the garden and says, where are you? Which is kind of, have a sense of humor. So, where are you? And then the man says, he's under the bush and he goes, I'm afraid because I'm naked, so I hid. I'm afraid. 3 emotions: fear, shame, sense of nakedness, and denial. Denial that says, so I hid. There is nobody anywhere in any culture on this planet that does not understand these 3 emotions. And every day our sense of self-worth go up and down. Up and down. What's a good day? A good day is, you know, I get a teaching award. A good day is when I get a publication. A good day when somebody, you know, smiles at me or something. What's a bad day? Bad day, someone cuts me off in traffic. Somebody yells at my dog. Why are those good days and why are those bad days? It seems like every single day we are looking for ways to affirm our sense of worth because a bad day is when you feel a little less worthy. That shouldn't be, right? Well, why can't we separate these encounters, which are events, from our fundamental worth as a human creature? doesn't it kind of remind you of the guy sitting under the bush saying, I'm afraid because I'm naked, so I hid? So many of our decision biases have to do with this incredible need to preserve our sense of self-worth. And where does that come from? It's like when God says, Adam, who told you you were naked? That's a good question. It's like a question we may ask ourselves. Who told us? Why do we feel that way? Why do we have to keep affirming ourselves? Why do we take it so personally when we don't get success? For me, a lot of this is we really need to separate out the sort of, in theory, I can tell you, when bad stuff happened, and a whole bunch of them happened in a row, you're still the same worthwhile person I love. Okay. But you may not feel very lovable or worthwhile. Okay. And yet, deep down inside, for me, the core of where I draw a sense of worth is actually kind of detached from the things that I'm doing. And I think that's very helpful to me. My most important thing is that I have been loved by an incredible being. And that is so important to me that by comparison, getting tenure at Stanford or running a bunch of money is actually not as important, not so important. And that's very helpful because then you can walk away from those things.